Hello, friends, and welcome back to my channel here at True Reality Life, where we talk about the true realities of life around us beautiful, ugly, and everything in between. So, if you keep up with my weekly videos, you'll see I haven't posted the last two Wednesdays, which is a little disappointing for me, but it was completely out of my hands. I ended up in the hospital. So that's fun. I was there for over 8 days. So today I wanted to talk about how I put my own advice to the test when my expectations were challenged with this unexpected hospitalization. So I started this new year out with some videos that I wanted to post, some podcasts that I had made. The first one that I had posted was kind of a two-part about surviving versus thriving in the mental health journey and how to be consistent even in survival mode. So I had already posted the first video, I think the first week of January, about the highs and lows of mental health or any struggle that you're stepping into with the New Year's resolutions and the expectations and standards that we set for ourselves, and how to be gracious to yourself even in the lows whenever you're not able to follow through, and how to adjust your expectations. If you haven't watched that video, feel free to go watch that one. I'll include the link down below. But right before I went to the hospital, I had actually recorded the second part to that video about how to stay consistent even in survival mode. So keep a lookout for that video that I do plan on posting this week, this Wednesday. But this one will just kind of be a bonus episode to keep you guys updated with what kind of happened to miss the last 2 weeks of posting. So just kind of what I had been talking about in the first video is we go into this new year with plans, expectations for ourselves, goals, New Year's resolutions. And although I was in this mindset of, oh, well, I'm just continuing where I was and just trying to continuously learn and grow every single day, that I didn't want to set any big expectations. I just wanted to stay more consistent and be a more confident version of me. And I was doing just that. I was being very diligent, even from the end of last year, about being consistent and setting routines and adjusting my standards for myself, but it was kind of like within this little range of my expectations. So if you weren't as productive one day, that's okay, and blah, blah, blah. But I did not know what I was signing myself up for, jinxing myself for, whatever that may be, to be put to the absolute test of that survival versus thriving within this mental health journey. Because where I thought I was doing really well, life said, just kidding, we're going to test you on your own advice. I'm just going to kind of go right into the story of my hospital stay, what exactly happened, where I encountered some struggles in my everyday at the hospital, and then we'll end it with the overall lessons that I'm going to teach or apply to my own life and try to share with you guys that I took from this hospital visit, because every low in your life will always have a lesson to be learned. So it's not always wasted. I was not in that same mindset while I was actually there, but coming out the other side, we're doing better. Okay, so rewind back to not this last Wednesday, but the Wednesday before, whenever I was supposed to be posting a new video. That Tuesday, I was very productive. I got up and I got my hair cut, and I was feeling really good about that because the new year I wanted to make some changes, and I'd been wanting to get my hair cut forever, and I finally went through with it, got it cut, was feeling good. My husband had to work that night, so once he left, I put the girls to sleep after they ate dinner, recorded my podcast, I cleaned up the house, did the dishes, cleaned the kitchen, vacuumed, mopped, all of the things so I could be in a good headspace, because I knew I had a decent amount of energy and was ready to go on with my routine because I usually do all of my productivity at night. So I was expecting to journal, to read, to edit my podcast to post for Wednesday, all of these things. I was so excited. I was like, oh, okay, the house is clean. I'm feeling good. The girls are asleep. And I sit down with all of my excitement and start opening my journal to journal. And all of a sudden, I start getting this really sharp pain, which most people would describe as like chest pain. But I'm a nurse and I kind of recognize that it wasn't chest pain. I wasn't concerned for like a heart attack or anything like that, but it was more of what we would call epigastric pain, which is like upper abdominal pain. And I was like, oh my gosh, is this gas? Because I've been having kind of flare ups every few weeks that I kept thinking were gas pains because they would go away eventually after a while, but they were getting so severe. But this time it was so bad. I tried all of the things that I usually do, took Gas-X, took some ibuprofen, even took Tylenol, try to take a hot shower. I couldn't even stand in the shower for more than a few minutes because the pain was just so bad. Tried getting a heating pad, tried moving around. Standing up was painful, laying down was painful. I was in so much pain and I usually have a very high pain tolerance. So this was very abnormal for me. I was like, is gas pain really this bad, y'all? So it wasn't going away. I was getting frustrated. If my husband had been home, I would have gone to the ER right then and there. This was like 11 o'clock at night. But I kept trying the things, kept hoping it would go away. Eventually, I texted my parents probably by midnight, 1 o'clock, and said, hey, as soon as y'all wake up, if you see this, can you please come watch my girls so that I can go to the ER? And eventually, I hear back from my mom. I was able to finally fall asleep somehow because I just laid down and was hoping it would go away. And I was able to fall asleep, but within a few minutes, my mom had called me and was like, oh, hey, I'm up. This was like 3 a.m. I'm up, I'll come over. And so she came over. The pain was a little more tolerable, which was great because then I felt more comfortable driving. The initial pain, I was concerned to even be driving myself to the ER. So she gets there, I drive myself to the ER. The pain is like probably a 4 instead of like an 8 or 9 that it was. And they do an ultrasound because it started radiating to my back. Okay. The epigastric pain started radiating towards my back and like my right shoulder blade, which to me, the first thing I thought about was pancreatitis or something, gallstones, whatever it may be. So that's what they did. They did an ultrasound to see if there was any stones or inflammation or whatever they might see. And of course, it came back positive for gallstones. So they said, yes, we want to transport you over to the actual hospital because this was a standalone ER that's right down the street from my house. We want to transport you to the hospital so you can have surgery to have your gallbladder removed. I said, are you sure? Like, my pain really isn't that bad now. I have so many things going on that I'm trying to stay with. Is there any way I could maybe schedule it outpatient? Because it's usually an outpatient procedure where you go in, have the surgery, and you leave the same day. They said, no, that's not advised because your liver values, I'm trying to use normal terms, your liver, like lab work, came back very elevated as well. And we show significant gallstones in your gallbladder. So if you were to go home, you probably just continue to have flare ups. It could happen anytime. That's not advised. I said, okay, whatever. Send me to the hospital, have it removed, expecting to probably be discharged later that day. Boy, was I wrong. So I finally get transported by the ambulance. My husband is like freaking out at this point, but it's okay. I was trying not to be very anxious, accepting this is where I'm supposed to be. There's a plan for this, whatever. Good spirits, decent spirits, you know. Get there at like 8:30. The doctors finally come in around like 9:10, 9:15, surgeon and hospitalist, and say, hey, yeah, you're having surgery today. I was like, oh, okay. Do y'all already have it scheduled? Oh, yeah, you're going down in like 5 minutes. Surgery is scheduled for 10 o'clock. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I was still in my street clothes, everything. So I had to do like a cleansing wipe down, change into a gown. I was texting my husband and my dad and everybody, hey, I have surgery at this time. My dad was going to come after the surgery was over to be there because my husband had to go home and sleep. He had been working all night. So he went home to sleep and to kind of be there with my girls. I think my mom stayed there too. I don't even remember. But had the gallbladder out. That was fine. My husband ended up coming up there for a little while with my dad there. That was nice. I was like, okay, so what's the discharge plan? When can I go? They did repeat lab work. They said, we're going to keep you overnight, take your lab, see how everything goes. You can maybe discharge in the morning. Okay, cool. Whatever. One night stay. And plus, this was the hospital that I work at. So I was getting kind of decent treatment, everybody coming to check on me. Oh my gosh, she's the assistant nurse manager over on this floor. We need to make sure to take care of her, all of the things, special treatment, VIP treatment, even though all of our patients are VIP patients. But, there's a little extra check-ins when you have a staff member in the hospital. So I didn't mind the one night. My lab work came back in the morning and my liver values came back way higher. So where they were supposed to drop after having my gallbladder removed, they skyrocketed. They more than quadrupled whatever 5 times the number was, where they were like 120, 200. Now they were over 1200, which is the wrong direction and an extreme jump. So they were concerned. They did an MRI to see if there was any gallstone that had went down into my bile duct and was maybe blocking the flow of, bile from the liver and everything that could have been backing up and causing damage to the liver. And the MRI was negative, so there was no gallstone. So why the heck are my liver enzymes going up? They said, well, we're just going to go ahead and do another procedure, which is called an ERCP. It's where they go with the scope like a camera down your throat instead. They're not making any incisions like they did with the gallbladder removal. So they're not making any incisions outside your body, but they go internally with a little camera and they can cut and remove whatever they need to. So we did that on Thursday, and they did find a gallstone that was kind of embedded into the side of my, I don't know, small intestine somewhere. It was embedded because I thought it was in my bile duct, which I think it was, but then the surgeon said that whenever he went to cut it out, it kind of tore open from the pressure of it and it started bleeding. So then they had to place a stent, which is basically like this little mesh wire that holds the bile duct open. But he said it tore into the small bowel, which is strange, but whatever. So they put a stent, and the fact that the doctor even told me about this bleed means that it was way worse than it really was, because surgeons usually, if there's like very minimal bleeding, they won't even tell the patients about it. But the fact that he felt obligated to still tell me means that it was pretty significant, which I knew just as a nurse because I've watched surgeries firsthand before and I kind of know how it goes. But that being said, we did that, had the stent placed. My throat was literally killing me because I had been intubated twice. Then they had the scope down my throat at the same time. I don't know what they did, but my throat was like bleeding and sore. So I kept like spitting up blood. But it was what it was. I was on a clear liquid diet. They tried to advance my diet, but my throat was hurting too much. So they put me back to clear liquids after being NPO for like the last 2 days, which means nothing to eat. So I was starving, but whatever. Drinking my little broth, and they kept calling me to order my food. And I was like, yeah, I'll just take some apple juice and broth again, because that's, all I can really have. And so I was just doing that. Then the next day, Friday by this point, I woke up, I was feeling better, so they ordered me a regular diet to eat. which I was super excited for. I was like, oh, yay, I'm going to eat this diet and then I'm going to be able to go home today. I was feeling so good. Started eating, doing a little happy dance. And all of a sudden, I get extremely like lightheaded, dizzy. I don't even know how to explain it. It wasn't like the room was spinning, it wasn't swaying, it wasn't anything like that. I just felt like such pressure. Like I kept explaining it almost like whenever you're taking off on a plane and there's that like pressure shift. And it's not like I needed to pop my ears or anything with my ears. It was just like in my head like that. And I was like, whoa, that's a really strange feeling. Maybe it's just side effects of anesthesia, whatever. I had two procedures back to back, whatever. So I was like, well, that's really weird. I was eating my diet, but the dizziness was still there. I would get up and it didn't get worse necessarily, but it would be certain times it was hard to focus. I had to really focus on what I was doing. If I tried to read anything out loud, it was very difficult to even just focus in on something. Like if you're looking at something and your eyes have to zoom in versus like looking out to focus, I couldn't do that very well. It was very frustrating. On top of that, my liver function, my lab work was not going down like it should have. It was going down, it was trending down, which was really good, but it wasn't going down as fast as it should have. So as soon as they removed that gallstone, it should have dropped very significantly and it was doing like a slow downtrend. So they're like, "Well, we'll keep you another day." Cool, because I'm still having this dizziness, so I wouldn't want to go home with this dizziness even though I'm missing my girls and hate being in the hospital at this point, because I quickly realized after you're there for a day or two, people are all concerned and texting you and checking in on you, whether it's in person or on the phone or whatever that may be. After the first day or two, that all stops. They kind of forget that you're there, whether it's from the management side, because I work there, from their daily check ins, their charge nurses, their whatever that would come and check in on me. That kind of stopped. They're like, "Oh, she's fine, cool, she had her surgery, whatever." A lot of people didn't even know that I was still in the hospital because both of these procedures that I had are usually in and out procedures. So why was I still there? So Saturday comes around and the dizziness is still there. My liver function is slowly going down. And I keep asking the doctors that came and rounded that morning, why am I still dizzy? Like, what is going on? And y'all aren't doing anything about it. They said, well, maybe it's anesthesia. It's only a couple of days post op. Maybe it's the pain meds. You're on very strong pain meds. So I said, okay, you think it's pain meds? I'm not going to take any pain meds today. So I didn't. And from like 3 a.m. until probably like 7, 8 p.m., I didn't take any pain meds to see, just to say, well, it's not the pain meds contributing to the dizziness. And so I was still dizzy or lightheaded or whatever, however you want to describe it, all day long. But now, since I wasn't taking my pain meds, the pain started coming back, but it was getting worse. That day, I was pretty just aggravated and feeling frustrated that nobody was listening to me. And I was slowly just getting more and more depressed. Like, I was wondering, what is this dizziness from? Everybody just kept saying, oh, well, maybe it's this. So Sunday, I'd taken pain meds overnight, but then Sunday they try to say, oh, well, maybe it's the pain meds again. I was like, y'all, I didn't take pain meds all day yesterday, and I'm still feeling dizzy. The pain is getting worse. Nobody's listening. And so they're like, well, the pain's probably getting worse because you're not taking anything. But eventually they decided to do an x ray, which ended up showing, I know this is gross, showed that I was severely constipated. I hadn't had a bowel movement since like Monday. But then I also wasn't eating. Then I was on clears, and then I just started my diet back. But then the pain was just getting worse. I would get nauseous every time I was eating, which later turned out is because I literally couldn't fit any food because I was so backed up. The doctor ended up showing me the scan, and it was horrible. But he didn't show me until Monday. So all day Sunday, I was just laid there. I laid there and I was so depressed and just so frustrated, but I didn't know how to deal with my frustrations without crying. So even the doctor had reached out to a neurologist, a brain doctor, to see, hey, is there anything that you want to do about this dizziness? And they said, no, just do fluids and check her blood pressure whenever she stands up and all of those things. And if that doesn't help, give her some Xanax. Maybe she's just anxious. And I'm like, y'all, I'm anxious now because I have this dizziness after surgery that won't go away and nobody can tell me why. And this isn't normal. I don't feel safe driving. I don't feel safe being alone with my girls. I don't feel safe if I had to go back to work. I just don't feel right. It feels off, and nobody's telling me anything. Everybody's pretty much saying, oh, maybe it's dehydration, pain meds, anxiety, whatever. And I'm like, I have anxiety now because I'm 27 and having these issues that nobody can explain. And I was getting frustrated. So I just laid there waiting for discharge. And every time somebody would ask me if I needed something, I said, nope, I don't need anything. And I would just lay there. The nurse tried to say, oh, are you tired today? I said, no, I just don't know what to do with myself because nobody's doing anything. And I'm just laying here. Nothing is happening. So I laid there and just sat into my depression. And Monday morning, I had a little better spirits because the doctor came in and could at least explain the worsening pain with the x-ray that he showed me and said, well, it's probably you being backed up because it's not allowing your liver to drain properly. It's not allowing you to eat properly, anything, because you need a bowel movement and you haven't had one in a week. Like I had a very small one, but that wasn't anything. So he gave me something that cleared me out that was miserable, but it was at least progress. It was something. They were doing something for me. So I was getting up by myself with the dizziness, but they never had the bed alarm on. They never said I couldn't get up. So I was getting up by myself and going to the bathroom like a million times that day, which was exhausting. But eventually 6 p.m. came around and they put in discharge orders and I went home. They even let me walk out by myself despite all of this dizziness because they probably thought it was all in my head. Which, as I was getting into the car and feeling 10 times more dizzy, I was thinking to myself, man, I really probably shouldn't be going home. This doesn't feel right. Like the car ride home was absolutely miserable because I was just so dizzy and the motion from the car and all of the lights were so overwhelming. It made it so much worse. But I was just glad and so ready to be going home to see my girls sleep in my own bed, thinking that that might help. Just being in my own environment, getting some fresh air after being in the hospital for what, 6 days from having my gallbladder removed, which is crazy. Everybody that realized I was still there on Monday was so shocked because I'd gone in Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, whatever you want to describe it, but that's a long time for somebody that's typically healthy and was just having an outpatient procedure. Anyways, woke up Tuesday morning after being discharged and sleeping overnight. Had a good sleep, but woke up and my left side was numb and tingly. And I wouldn't say it was like, oh, completely numb, but it was probably at like 50% where it just felt wrong. Even my tongue felt numb, where I couldn't fully feel. I could feel and I could move it and things like that, but not fully. So I was like, dang it. So now I have to go back in. I was even debating, I was hoping it would go away. I was like, no, because if this is something bad, I need to at least go get the scans. So I was hoping to just go get the typical CTs and MRI so I can rule that out and I can go home and just hope it goes away and I'll feel better with myself. So I go to the standalone ER again and they do the CTs, they're negative. Okay, cool. But the numbness and tingling is still there. So they sent me to the hospital again, my second ambulance ride, and sent me to the hospital again because they can't do the specific MRI that they need. So they sent me to the hospital to get the MRI. And it's just a waiting game at this point. Once I get there, they're in no rush. I'm only 27. They're not worried. Finally go to the MRI. It's negative. So now it's really a waiting game because I was supposed to get a couple more scans. I was supposed to get my heart ultrasound, all of those things. But since the scans came back negative, there's no rush. So now I'm just waiting around. They finally came around, I want to say, was it Wednesday by this point? And did the ultrasound of my heart. Dizziness is still there. The numbness tingling was starting to go away, but they did the ultrasound of my heart. The doctor was even debating sending me home. They consulted neurology. They didn't know what to do. They had ordered physical therapy to come see me to see if it was part of like my inner ear, which they were saying it's vertigo where you feel swaying, you feel whatever, but it doesn't feel like that at all. So whenever physical therapy came and did their test, which is just a whole bunch of different movements to test if it is possibly my inner ear, all of them were negative. We tried to fix it. It wasn't, nothing was helping with physical therapy. But the neurologist had seemed so confident about that. Still, nothing was fixing it. So the doctor was just going to discharge me. I said, cool, I'm tired of being here. Can y'all please just discharge me if you're not going to do anything? Then the ultrasound of my heart, the echo, came back positive for what's called a PFO, which is like a small, they don't know what size, but a small hole in your heart that allows for like oxygenated blood and non oxygenated blood to kind of mix, which is not really good because then it can cause blood clots and that can be a source of a stroke. So every stroke that we have, we usually do the heart ultrasound to see if that was maybe a cause because that's fixable to prevent further strokes or anything like that because they can go in and close the hole if it's necessary. So mine came back positive with the small hole. So they consulted cardiology, said, sorry, you can't go home tonight. We have to wait for cardiology to come see you in the morning. Said, okay, cool, whatever. Then they say, well, we're going to try one more thing for your dizziness. We're going to give you meclizine, which I'd been taking this whole time and it wasn't doing anything for my dizziness. They even ordered it for home and I was trying it, but it wasn't doing anything. So they said, we're going to try doing meclizine with Valium. You know anything about Valium? Pretty much in the hospital, we give it to patients who are like psych patients or patients that are aggressive or anything to make them calm down. It's either like Ativan or Valium because it basically makes you like knock out. But the neurologist was very hopeful that maybe this would be like a reset for my nervous system, that it would knock me out and I would wake up like a reset button almost. It was also probably for my anxiety that I was having because that Wednesday I was a mess. I was a mess. I was crying almost all day long. Every time I talked to the doctor, I was crying because I felt unheard. And I'm going to make a future video about that too, about feeling unheard and trying to stay grounded with yourself when everybody else is making you doubt yourself. So look for that. I think not this week, but maybe next week I'll make a video about that. But I was just getting frustrated because nobody could give me answers. I was doubting myself. It was making me feel crazy. Oh, maybe it's dehydration, pain meds, anxiety, whatever they were telling me. And I was like, it's not any of those, but nobody could tell me all of the scans were clear. That's all they kept saying. Your labs are fine. Your scans are fine. All of these things are fine. And I was like, but I don't feel fine. So I was getting frustrated. I even met with my therapist on Wednesday and I was just crying the entire time because of just how frustrated I felt. And it was bringing up so much trauma from my childhood of always being told, like, oh, you're too young for that. Like, if I had back pain from whenever I was 15 and I would wake up screaming from the back pain, and I was always told, well, you're too young to have back pain. Okay, so explain it then because I hate being told that almost like I'm making it up because I'm not that type of person. I don't care enough. I don't have the intention to be attention seeking because honestly, I would rather not have the attention. But it was frustrating to be told these things of, oh, well, you're too young for it to have been like pinched nerve because I kept saying, oh, well, maybe it was from the OR whenever they were positioning me or whatever, that maybe it pinched a nerve or something. Well, maybe in an older person, but you're too young for that to happen. So I kept just getting frustrated. So, of course, it looks like I'm just an anxious little butterfly, but who wouldn't be after feeling like this and feeling so off and being told it's nothing? So they wanted to try the meclizine with Valium, knock me out, reset button, fix my anxiety. I said, you know what? Whatever. Give me the Valium. I don't think it'll help with the dizziness, but it'll help with my nerves about the dizziness. It'll help with my anxieties as a result of the dizziness. They gave it to me. I knocked out, y'all. Like, being in the hospital, you don't get the best sleep, and I already don't sleep very well at home from my back problems and from just issues falling asleep, staying asleep, things like that. But I knocked out. I think I would just wake up for them to take my vital signs. I would literally have my eyes closed and just put my arm out. And I don't even think I changed positions all night. Usually I'm tossing and turning all night, but I stayed in one position, opened my eyes for the vitals, went right back to sleep. It was the hardest I've slept in my entire life. So at least there was that. Of course, I woke up feeling a lot more calm. The dizziness was still there, but I at least felt more calm about it. And I was like, okay, now we're just going to accept that I have this dizziness and we're just going to wait for the heart doctor. So Thursday morning, waiting, waiting, waiting. The heart doctor doesn't come until like 1 or 2 in the afternoon, which is the longest waiting game ever. But he finally comes by and says, hey, we're not really concerned about it. Like your numbness and tingling has resolved. So there could have been maybe a small clot that passed that like went up and caused the symptoms, blocked it for like very slightly blocked a passage that could have caused those symptoms, but then it was able to pass on its own. It wasn't a full blockage that would be considered a stroke. So we're not concerned about closing that hole. If it proves an issue down the line, maybe, but you're so young, there should be little to no stroke risk or anything like that. Even though strokes are very, very common in my family. My grandfather on my mother's side had several strokes, like probably like 6 or 7. My mother has had a mini stroke. My grandmother has, on my dad's side, has had a stroke, but nobody cared about that because I was so young and healthy. So they don't want to close that. I don't even need to follow up with the cardiologist, but the dizziness was still there. I said, you know what? Whatever. Send me home. I'll go to follow up appointments. I just want to be with my girls. I'm tired of being here. This isn't helping my healing. So I got discharged and now I'm here. I'm home. The dizziness is still there, and I'm trying to decide if it's getting better or if I'm just getting used to it because I'm able to still do things. I had my dad come over Friday because my husband had to work that day to come help me with the girls because I still didn't feel 100% safe with just them with my dizziness. But I'm starting to get more used to it. I even went driving with him with like while he was with me so that it was almost like practicing driving again to make sure that I would be safe and I had somebody there as backup just in case, just so I can learn to live with the dizziness if it's not going to go away. So, still debating, is it getting better or am I just getting used to it? Because it's still definitely there, but I'm even able to communicate a lot better than I was or read out loud a lot better than I was because when I had that numbness and tingling, that was a struggle. I had to focus to do anything with my left side. I had to focus to read properly, to find words was difficult. It was very frustrating because I'm used to being very sharp and very on top of things. So that was a very frustrating experience, but thankfully, at least that part went away. Okay, so now I'm back home and reflecting on everything and able to try to get back into routines, which is nice, and just start to live with this dizziness. But it's just wild to me that in the midst of the podcast that I'd been posting about surviving versus thriving, I literally got thrown into an unexpected season of survival where I thought I would be thriving. I came into the new year thinking I'm going to just make all of this progress with my podcast, with my consistency, with my confidence, with everything, and got thrown for a loop and said, hey, you've been talking about how to survive and how to stay consistent in survival seasons. Here's a big survival season. Let's see what you do with it. And I struggled. I was frustrated because I had my laptop with me to where, oh, well, I should be editing stuff, or I could be posting, or I could even record something while I was in the hospital. But then it was also a matter of trying to listen to my body and say, I can't focus. Like, I can't even get a full sentence out. I can't function properly enough to do any of that. So I had to just allow myself to rest and be present in those moments and just literally survive. Not that I was like on my deathbed or fighting for my life, but literally survive in an aspect of like my mental health and wellness, or just getting through each day without falling apart mentally and emotionally. So it really put my words of advice to the test because I was trying to live in this place of having thriving expectations where I still had these standards like I was in a season of thriving while my body was in survival mode. So, as you'll see in my next video that I post, I talk about adjusting the standards. So, adjusting your expectations to match the reality that you're in. So if you're going through life and you're wanting to do something, oh, I want to go to the gym for an hour every day, but then you're realizing that's not happening. Instead of just giving up and saying, man, I couldn't do it, I failed, da da da, and then you just stop going at all. You have to readjust your standards to say, hey, well, maybe I should just try going 5 minutes a day. Or for me, I had to readjust my standards of, hey, I should just read something today. I should just say one positive affirmation today. I should give myself grace today that I'm not meeting the expectations that I thought I would be at a thriving state of mind, because I'm literally just trying to make it through each day. I'm just trying to survive each day mentally. And that took a lot. It took a lot of grace. It takes a lot of practice. It's not just a light switch that you flip on and off of being hard on yourself versus graceful. Oh, I'm just graceful now and forgiving to myself. No, it took practice of every day saying, it's okay that you're not doing something productive right now. Surviving is progress still. Making it through each day and not giving up on yourself is progress. It's learning to trust yourself even in the hard times. So just showing up for yourself and giving yourself that grace and that self love is progress. It really is. Because usually I would let this completely destroy me and put me into depression and like, oh, well, I failed. I missed 2 weeks. Now that's going to reset the algorithm. I was being so consistent and now da 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 da. And trust me, I did have thoughts like that, but it's a matter of not letting those thoughts take over and taking a new step in the right direction of saying, no, I'm not letting this stop me. I'm going to pick right back up where I left off and I'm going to keep going. It's not restarting, it's continuing from where you left off, but now with experience. Now I just have another lesson that I've learned that I can now teach and apply to my advice giving that I literally learned firsthand. I got thrown into a lesson that challenged my advice, because it's so easy to give advice, but to actually put those words into practice is so much harder. As the saying goes, it's easier said than done. And I truly tested that. And I had to keep reminding myself, hey, I know this is hard right now, but this will benefit me in the long run. This will teach me something and it will provide an experience for me to learn and grow from, and to teach other people and allow other people to learn and grow from my experiences. This isn't just an aimless hospital stay that's going to cost who knows how much, but it's a lesson learned, not something that I can prevent in the future or practice, but it is something that I was tested mentally of my mental strength, and I came out the other side stronger. Even in the time of darkness, you can learn and you can thrive and grow, but you may not see that progress until you come out the other side. So I just hope if you're going through a season of survival right now, that you just stay with yourself, even if you're not able to be as productive as you thought you would. Maybe you need to adjust some standards and recognize that you're in a season of survival and not thriving, and adjust your standards accordingly. Set your expectations for yourself to the reality that you're living right now. And remember, just showing up for yourself and being graceful and forgiving to yourself is progress. It is building that self trust and learning to not abandon yourself whenever plans don't go your way. I really appreciate you guys being here with me and allowing me to be so vulnerable with such a low point in my life. And I appreciate your support and love towards me. It means the absolute world. It really does. I appreciate you guys for being here. Love you guys so much, and I will see you guys next week. Love you. Bye.